Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Morning Podcast with Sherry Lord. We are so excited to have you here and hope you're drinking a lot of coffee and enjoying your morning and having a fantastic day because we have a very special guest and we're so excited to have her. We have Dr. Joy Pedersen and she's amazing. Her topic for today will be past lives and karma. So this is going to be very, very in-depth. And she's going to do questions and answers towards the end. And she's amazing. I'm going to talk a little bit about her and her bio. Joy Pedersen is a doctor of divinity, intuitive licensed spiritual healer, and certified spiritual health coach, non-denomination or ordained minister, certified law of attraction practitioner, and multiple international best-selling author, and founder of Express Success LLC, serving an international clientele. Archangel Michael appeared before her, asking her to write his book, Wisdom of Guardian, Treasures from Archangel Michael to Change Your Life, and join him in a healing practice. She identifies and releases the hidden causes of people's personal business challenges. Her personal healing sessions include my phone. Sorry, you guys. My phone is covering everything up. Sessions include releasing negative memories, trauma, emotions, karma, and contracts from this lifetime and past lives. And Dr. Joy has specialties in clearing darkness, curses, and persecution from multiple lifetimes. She has the privilege of working directly for Source as a global healer and assisted in the opening of heaven and earth in the new golden age. And you also work a lot with the community. That I do know. I always see you advertised on Facebook. I see you doing things in Sarasota with the group. Is this a yearly thing you do with Healing Heaven and Earth?
Well, the anniversary of Heaven on Earth Heaven on Earth opened March 30th, 2013. And then every year, wherever I am, I actually celebrate it. Okay. And this past March 30th, I did it in Sarasota.
Oh, that was amazing. I know. I mean, we need that. We need this positive vibration. We need prayer. We need the gathering of like-minded. We need everyone here to participate. I think it's fantastic. But you have a lot of gifts and you do a lot. I mean, you can tell us a little bit about, kind of how you got started a little bit, and then we're going to go right into the title and topics that we're going to be talking about. But I think some of the people like to know a little bit more of a background, like in a brief, if you can share with us.
Sure. There's like 3 different segments I can elaborate on. One, when I was little, I knew I was here for the end of the world as we knew it. I knew it would be my last lifetime and that I wouldn't die this lifetime. So I always interpreted that like I could just ascend, but it might have been that I wasn't going to be killed in the this calling of crazy calling that I've had of clearing darkness. But probably the second part of note was I was working in Hollywood at Paramount Studios and was receiving calls from people asking me how I got my job, and I wanted to help them. And in my discovery of where their challenges were, I saw a lot of people were suffering both in relationships, getting settled in LA, finding a job. And I wanted to know why it was relatively easy for me. Did a little research and learned the law of attraction. So I started teaching that and wanting to help people with the law of attraction. We were all manifesting consistently in certain areas and not others. So then I looked for another solution because I said, there's something within us that's blocking that effortless manifestation. So I learned about the subconscious and spiritual healing then.
Yeah.
And then in 2004, Archangel Michael came to me and asked me to join him in a healing practice and write his book, Wisdom of the Guardian, which automatic writing and channeling was the easy part. What I found communicating to people to say, I talk to angels was a little bit awkward. So I had to kind of do my own past life readings.
Yes.
I discovered I had 8 lifetimes of persecution that I had to clear before I could publish the book.
Yep.
And then after I published the book, found I still had more lifetimes of persecution blocking me from speaking about it. So I've done a lot of work on myself as well as the other people.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've all been going through a shift for a while, but especially when COVID hit, that really shifted a lot of things for a lot of people. And I know for me, I totally agree with you with the past life stuff. I totally agree because I had to do my own. More was coming that I needed to release during the COVID time. It was like 3 years of it. And I didn't realize how deep that was. And you were talking about persecution and stuff. What I find for me, when it was we have a lot of those things with persecution, many lifetimes that people don't realize it affects us in this life. They have no idea that, why can't I come here and I'm here? Why can't I move above here? Well, you got to clear that, and people don't know. They're just moving through their day. And it could be very frustrating. I know that I had to clear a lot to do with sacrifice. And a lot of it had to do with ascending. And I wouldn't allow, or I had to clear with wealth because it was like, I went back to a past life, and you can share some of yours too, was that I remember we had several that I had to go back and clear and remove that. And I didn't realize that a lot of my wealthy lifetimes, I was killed every time. So wealth was associated with death. So it's like, okay, I go to a certain level, but I wasn't allowing myself to go there. So I had to go back, and there was many. If you ask, all they have to do is just ask, and and I just went back there and I cleared it. And one of the lifetimes was also a belief I held, and I was a male in that lifetime with two wealthy women. We were all in a wealthy home, and I remember saying, "Wealth is cruel." And then my guide showed gold light going around it, and they redid the belief and said, "Wealth is freedom. Wealth is beautiful." And then that shifted me. But I had no idea those were sitting there. But the main thing that really stood in my head, the past lives, like you say, are very important to clear because it will give you freedom. And even in marriages, people that they have all the vows from even some of the past marriages. And I realize now why some people couldn't find their partner. Because they still are holding on to these. I want you to elaborate on this. I'm just going to share some of my own, but I really want you to go a little bit deep about this is important work and how valuable this is for your own freedom. I just want everybody to know Joy's name is scrolling on the bottom here. And if you ever want to get a hold of her information's there. And if, you kind of miss it, just go to www.sherrylord.com and click on the tab podcast, and you will see her information so you can contact her directly. She's amazing. You definitely want to get work done by her. And we just want to go back to the past life stuff. And I just know that how much it had helped me to clear that, and then how it brings freedom with new relationships and why people have this or that and everything tied to it. So tell us a little bit more about the past to the present with people. What have been some of your clients and your own experience with that?
Well, when you were mentioning vows, I do a lot of hearings with contracts of any kind. Yep. So that might be a contract with a vow of chastity, a vow, I'll never get married again.
Yeah.
And say things in the moment of exacerbation. And sometimes those carry so much weight, and you don't realize it, especially if you're a powerful individual in another life where there was different dynamics. Those can end up even in curses, where somebody is angry and then they state something that they learn to regret later because they're now paying the karma for that, but they don't know necessarily in this lifetime where that was created. Like, why am I having this challenge now? And they don't realize that in a lifetime where it was more dense energies, it was darker in nature, like the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages in particular, were very violent. And there was a lot of poverty and mishandling of humanity. And a lot of that we're suffering still now, either as the victim or the one that perpetrated some of these issues because we didn't know any better at the time. And we may be carrying that karma. And some of that karma is really involved with they weren't able to let it go. They weren't able to heal it at the time. And now they're here learning that lesson or learning to forgive and let go. And that's the biggest key here, is really the ability to let go and evolve these situations.
Exactly. And it's important that when they realize they need help with it and they can release that. They can actually turn that around. They can actually change that. And that's what you do. You help people release that so it's no longer affecting them in this world or where they are in this present moment. you know
Exactly.
they can clear that, and I think that is so important, because like I said, when I through the COVID time for 3 years, I've been in deep levels of vows and oaths being done. And I tell you, I want to share this because I think some of the audience, because we can share our stories, I think that the
Mhm.
audience can resonate too. I remember having a issue with someone, and we were such good friends for a long time. All of a sudden it shifted. It's almost like being stabbed in the back. And I go, what the heck just happened? I says, whoa, where did this come out of left field? Well, I had to go back and do 8 lifetimes worth of where I was literally killed in a coop and other things with her, and I was stabbed in the back. I mean, when I released that, even
Mhm.
the relationship after a year, I noticed that the energy can heal them too. And that's what I noticed. Have you seen that it can heal that person? It releases you. It doesn't mean you have to go be their best friend anymore, but you no longer have that. You no longer have that. So I see the benefits of doing this work. And it is important that we do our own work. It's important to get help when you need it.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's been a variety, but a lot of it was about the ancient times. A lot of it was dogma, false teachings, and that because we were so submissive. We were submissive. And so, because we were so spiritual, we just believed everything that was being said by the priest. And what the heck did I just do? I just, died, but I also know that, you bless it all, and we have our wisdom, but you can heal this. And what can you say to people in relationships that's abusive? Or can you kind of elaborate like on wedding vows too, how important it is to clear those
Oh, yeah.
sometimes?
Well, a lot of times, even when people are getting married this lifetime, what I like to do is clear their relationship with
Yeah.
that individual from the beginning of time, because
Yes.
as soon as you're well, as soon as you're sleeping with somebody, you're taking on their DNA and
Yeah.
their karma and demons, and not that they all pass over to the other individual, but you want to clean yourself up and you want to clean the other individual up before
Yeah.
you partner with anybody, because otherwise you and your family history and their family history are combining and it becomes explosive at times. So sometimes things can get triggered at different times, though. It doesn't all necessarily come to the forefront immediately. Sometimes there's a trigger, something gets remembered by the inner child, the part of you that's connected with the
Yeah.
subconscious memory bank and computer, and then activates. And then all of a sudden, that memory is reliving, and you're living into that old program. And you don't even know, why did I change? Why did I all of a sudden behave
Yeah.
like someone else? And
Exactly.
it could be a combination of that. And then sometimes it's the old anger that gets triggered, and
Okay.
demons get activated and they start working through you. And it can be a mess at times.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. And there are also some of the lifetimes have been happy lifetimes too that you can
Mhm.
access, and I think that's a good thing. And there's spiritual abilities you can access.
Mhm.
I realized that when I finished a cycle, I call it a cycle of, say if it's all men or whatever I needed to heal, it's like you complete a cycle. That's the word I use. I also, when I worked on the Egyptians' time, because we've all had many lifetimes there, not everybody, but a lot of us have. And once I healed what I needed to with the Pharaoh, it was many Pharaoh lifetimes, I was able to retrieve a spiritual ability from that lifetime. And I was also had the understanding of it where I can help others retrieve their gifts and show them
Oh,
how to heal. But we all have gifts. But what I really like you to do is share with us some of your own experience that was really profound in your life and some of your clients. Can you share some
well,
stories?
you just reminded me. Well, you mentioned Egypt. So I've cleared the life
Yeah.
of Moses in the Exodus and a lot of the
Mhm.
stuff that
Yep.
happened. and some of the players there. But I'm just reminded of a client that came to me and years ago, and he was concerned about procrastination.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
I went through a lifetime where he was a slave to a pharaoh, and at the time, you would help create the resting place for the pharaoh, but then when the pharaoh died, you would be killed, and you would go with that pharaoh as the slave, so you can work with them in the afterlife. So he knew he was going to die if he finished. So that
Wow.
was no incentive to keep, doing his work. But unfortunately, the subconscious doesn't always read scenarios correctly. So he wasn't going to die if he finished his work this lifetime, but his subconscious is trying to
Oh,
prevent
yeah.
him from dying at the end of a project. So he never finished anything.
Wow, isn't that fascinating? This is really going to help a lot of people who are listening to really see in their life, I think because they can change it. They can absolutely heal that. And you have more you want to share. I just love this. I love the real stories and really, this is really real work that we're doing and real things that help people really change in their life and have more joy and peace in their life and really live it more fully. This is how important this is.
I thought, well, I actually did something this morning where I was working with a woman who was sacrificed as a child in another life.
Okay, yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
she was suffering still from karma, demons. And so we had to clear that. And that was the second case recently of somebody that I had to clear that was involved with child sacrifice.
Yeah.
There's so many bizarre things that have happened to people in past lives that you have no idea what happened then and then how it's impacting you today.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But some of us, I mean, even myself, I'll go to a practitioner if I'm too close to a situation because I
Mm-hmm.
want another set of
Oh, yeah,
eyes,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
they can add a wealth of information that says, "Oh, I understand this now." So there are times when I go back and I explain the lifetime, I explain what happened, and then
Yes.
they go, "Oh, I feel like that now," or I see that same
Mhm.
relationship or type of relationship playing out now. And then we release it from the part of the past, and that program is no longer running to repeat the same dynamics.
You just said the word program, totally removing the program.
Mhm.
Exactly. You are definitely awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many um, incidents where we see the same pattern repeating itself now. If we go into the past and we see where it came from, we can see almost identical scenarios being played out, but they were played out maybe 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter because the time and space continuum is not as linear as many of us were raised to believe. It's a little hard to fathom sometimes. But when I go back into past lives, sometimes we're fixing it in that lifetime, changing that lifetime. That person evolves in that lifetime, their experience evolves in that lifetime, and then they also have the benefits in this one. And it's
Wow.
it's it's kind of hard to fathom because most of us don't, experience past lives in the same way we understand this one.
Yes, but they're connected.
Mhm,
They're connected. But what people have to understand is you can heal that. You can actually have your freedom now.
mhm,
You know, and especially if it's something very deep or a repeated pattern of something that keeps occurring, in your life. I think that is important, to have more joy in this life. And this to me is about, doing your work, but also your freedom. To me, I
mhm,
keep hearing freedom and joy, and that we have the power uh, to change that and to heal that and to have more empowerment of ourselves, but also live it more authentically. And I
mhm.
think that is very, very, very important. And some people talk about overlay souls. What does that mean? I've heard the term.
I don't
I don't
even know
know what
if I
it is.
can.
I just heard the term.
I don't know if I can even speak to it as far as what the actual definition of that is, but it reminds me of in my work, I deal a lot with the high selves, which are usually the past life individuals working through
Yeah.
person on the planet to work out their karma, their issues, or make the commitments they've had to fulfill certain criteria. So they're working through the vehicle. In your case, Sherry, the vehicle of joy. In my case, the vehicle of the client in their case. So when you deal with the individuals on the other side, you can connect with them and find out what their issues are, what they need to evolve. And it's interesting some of the ways they come through. I have a client that's really diligent about doing her own work, and she had a new high self, somebody that came in with his agenda, and he actually came in with a clipboard and had tasks, his list of to-dos written on that clipboard. And we just went down the list and cleared the past lives he wanted to clear, the incidents he wanted to clear, and then he was thankful, done, and then he could move on. And then the next high self came through on the next session as far as what they wanted to work on. And some may last years, others may come and go as quickly as he did.
Oh, that is quite interesting. Wow. I find it fascinating, actually. I mean, sometimes it's very deep, like you said, and sometimes I have to get help with it. But a lot of times I can do my own. But sometimes it gets very, 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 very deep. And it's okay because it's important to clear. My question to you is, what else do you, as far as the past life goes to current life, what can people do? What can people do? When they recognize something, especially, I keep wanting to go back to relationships. I don't know why. There must be people watching that's wanting to know about relationships, their family, and their soul group with past lives to current life. And they're playing things out. And a lot of people, they've told me, I just don't feel like I belong in this family. What is this all about? They were saying, I'm different, and a lot of them have said that. I do not belong in this family. They're like night and day, Are they completing something, or what are they doing?
Well, most of the people
come in with that particular soul group.
Well, then the soul group keeps incarnating together in different roles. So if you look at it like, here's a play, I'm going to play this character, this role, I'm going to play that character another lifetime. So you get to experience different roles. But when you pick your family to come into, your higher selves have all made agreements with each other to come in, and you're going to work out certain karma or certain situations. So often if you have an abusive father, sometimes it's because you were abusive in another lifetime, and now you're working out that abuse and understanding it from another side. And you come in with the idea of working out that karma with this group. Sometimes people just work it out in the physical through experience, and then they above are going, okay, we're satisfied, we're done. When I do the work with people, sometimes I'm going in and I'm clearing a whole bunch of lifetimes, but sometimes source will say, well, a lesson is still valuable. They still need to work off some of that karma. It's not the time to clear it completely. So it may be tabled for another time, or when the person finally gets it and understands it on a deep level themselves, then it's, they have the aha moment. I shouldn't do this anymore. This is not fun. This is not right.
You don't have to learn that way anymore. Oh my gosh.
It's easier to clear it when you do this kind of work and avoid some of this. It can smooth out the rough edges. But sometimes, when our work, it's always surrender to source. So it's up to source ultimately how it gets played out and the timing. But we can help soften it a lot. Sometimes we can eliminate things completely. Like I've helped eliminate, painful situations, whether it's emotional or physical. Financial situations have improved, relationships have improved, things like that. So it helps move the needle. It helps evolve situations, and helps in many cases give people a stronger voice, more power, more confidence, and greater overall well-being. But it's all a process, and some of it's worked out in the physical, and when you do spiritual healing, you can work out a lot of it in the spiritual without having to feel the actual pain.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I've had people ask me a question, and they asked me to ask you, and I didn't have this one written down, is they're a little confused about karma. They want to know, what is karma? We talk about past lives and karma. So what is karma?
Well, from my perspective, it's the lesson, it's the repentance, it's the, paying a price. And sometimes it's about just having a lesson and understanding, you
Yeah.
got you kick the dog, and then you got bitten back, and you say, "Oh yeah, that wasn't such a good idea," and you don't do it again. Then there's
Yeah.
other times I see it being played out because some people don't forgive.
Okay. Yeah.
And so they have an issue with somebody, they don't forgive, and then they're holding that person
Yes.
accountable,
Mhm.
and that's keeping an energy alive that probably could have been evolved, and some issues could have been avoided if people could have forgiven.
Yep. So true. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we go to the questions?
Well, I think the point of forgiveness is really key. The better somebody can become at forgiving themselves and others, the faster they all evolve back to love and the
Yeah.
light, versus when somebody is stuck in judgment and anger and resentment and guilt, they are holding the energies and the old stories alive,
Yes, they are.
perpetuating the negative. So, in other words, if in a past life or earlier in this lifetime you were hurt, and you still want to live in that hurt and, oh, woe is me, you are actually hurting yourself at that point
Yeah.
more than the other person did, because what they
Yep.
did was done and over. And
Yep.
but you can forgive it. When you can forgive something, God can fully heal it. If you want to hold some of those energies alive and perpetuate them and bring them into your future, you are contaminating your future, and you're blocking God from healing the situation.
Yep. So true. People really, it's important that they hear this. It's important they understand it. And I think this is wonderful. Are you ready, Dr. Joy, for some questions?
Certainly.
Okay. Okay, if I hope I can read this right. My own handwriting sometimes. I have a question from Lori Trailer from Weston, Florida. And her question is, what is the easiest and best ways to break karma, to literally break it? I think you hit on some of that already.
Right. The forgiveness is key. Surrendering to source the situation completely, like you're really turning it over to source. When you surrender anything to source, it's putting it in source's hands to purify. So if you're experiencing karma, forgiving yourself, others,
Oh yeah, yourself. They got to remember themselves. Yeah.
right, the situation, sending it all to source, allowing source to evolve the situation.
Wow, that's a good advice. Thank you, Dr. Joy. We have another one. Kathy Drum from Ohio. Have you ever been in the state of lives between lives? Do you understand the question that she's asking?
I believe I understand it. So when we're off planet, that's in between lives,
Okay.
right? And I don't necessarily deal with it as much from a conscious place of where I'm at, but I certainly have for others. For example, I remember one day I wanted to talk to my dad. I think it was Father's Day. And I
Uh,
wanted to acknowledge my father who had passed, and talk to him. And certainly special occasions, I'll reach out to my loved ones in heaven. And on this occasion, Jesus said he can't come. Like, he can't come to the phone, basically, because he's working somewhere else. And I find that sometimes there's different levels of heaven, and there's different locations, and there's different responsibilities. And a number of people in between lives will be in school,
oh,
they'll
wow.
be working, they'll be enjoying life, they might have, if they like gardening here, they might have a garden there. So there's a lot of different experiences that people have, and I think it's really what they sign up for, what they want to experience. In their light body, you can create a lot of different experiences, very different than in these dense energies, and a lot easier. In these dense energies, however, is where we get to do more of the school of hard knocks, and we get to experience it in more of its fullness.
Oh, that's so true. We have one more, we have two questions under one person. Her name is Beth Perry from
Mhm.
Waterford, Michigan. And her question is, when we heal a generational pattern in this life, can or are ancestors also healed?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do a group call once a month, and
Ooh,
we're always having the family relatives and ancestors included. And I can see on the other side, we've got the angels, ascended masters, their family members, and everybody's like right there. So I know in even a private session, their high selves and their past life people and their ancestors will come through. And whatever they're connected to, whatever they want to evolve, they can all participate and get a healing from this. But anytime you do spiritual healing and you clear what is it within me or a past life situation, or whether
yeah,
it's happened yesterday and it was an argument, you're including everyone that was involved. So everyone that was
okay,
involved gets a healing. And when you're including family relatives and ancestors, you can be sometimes addressing ancestral karma, curses, things that get
yeah,
passed down. It used to be the sins of the father born upon the children. That concept, we cleared that years ago, but the
oh, yeah,
concept itself, if people are still holding on to
yeah.
those types of stories, we can clear that, and then everyone benefits.
That's a good question. She has another one too. Does everyone have a past life, or do some souls get to share a single life?
I believe most people here have had past lives and numerous ones, but I think there's also individuals who, especially now, are coming in and helping. And they may not want it to be here,
I'm back.
but they've
Mhm.
come in to support humanity shifting and moving into the new golden age.
Wow, this is wonderful. Did I miss any questions or did we get them all? As far as I know, I think we got them all.
I wanted to elaborate on one story that you
Oh,
triggered
please.
what, to answer somebody's question about the ancestors. So somebody came to me years ago on a financial matter. She was struggling financially. So I went back and I saw she had an ancestor in Italy,
Yeah.
and they were struggling. And I saw the story and I cleared the story, and it had to do with finance and banking and things like that. In the middle of doing that, I was told clear short sale. And I'm
Oh,
thinking, short sale is a new term.
okay.
So at the time, this was when a lot of the challenges were with mortgages
Oh,
and
yeah.
foreclosures and all of this. That ancestor had reincarnated and was dealing with a short sale. So they were dealing with their own karma from that previous lifetime. But because we were
Oh,
clearing
wow.
it in the moment, that reincarnated soul was benefiting.
Oh,
So it's
it's
an
interesting.
accurate evidence of what you were asking.
Oh, I think she's going to love. I think everybody that's been watching this video, our show today, will really get a lot out of it today. You have been amazing, Dr. Joy. We're so happy to have you, and we'd love to have you come back on. We'll have some new topics with you. But you had a lot of knowledge and a lot of information, and we know that it's going to help the people that are listening, and they know how to get contact you. Your name is, they can contact you through Pedersen.com. They can go to the website at www.sherrylord.com, and your profile will be there, and they can get all the information to contact you and start having more of a happier life. Thank you so much, Dr. Joy.
Thank you.